This is Pedro Predictions. In this video I will be giving my predictions on Group H. Portugal. Where to start? They have so much talent and so much depth, and they keep on producing elite players time and time again. Even being blessed with such depth in the squad, this has actually caused issues for their manager Santos, as it's very clear he doesn't know how to get the best out of all his players. He's not sure what's the best formation, what's the best style of play, and this is definitely having an impact on their squad, as it's quite clear that their momentum fluctuates a lot. Though I do have some sympathy for Santos, as it's kind of that catch-22 of that defensive style of play he likes to use is what won Portugal the Euros in 2016. However, he's got far more attacking players this time around, so he doesn't really know how to kind of evolve the squad. Also, a lot of these Portuguese players are not actually starting this season that well, and given that the World Cup is halfway through the season, maybe they won't be on form when it comes to the World Cup. Something very important to highlight is that Portugal has not won a knockout game in the World Cup since the 2006 World Cup, and if you look at their European Championship records compared to their World Cup records, they tend to do much better in the European Championships. And if you look at their World Cup records, they have only gone beyond the first knockout stage of the World Cup twice. Although I do really think this World Cup campaign for Portugal will go one way or the other. They'll either do really well or they'll do really bad, as this will be the last chance for players like Ronaldo, Moutinho, Pepe and Patricio to win a World Cup. Ghana. We have to acknowledge the clever recruitment they've done of getting players, and also some of the other players that might join later. And of course this comes with the big question, is there enough time for these new players to settle into the squad well? In my opinion, I don't think there is. I think it will actually create confusion amongst the squad, inconsistencies of style of plays, maybe the expectation on certain players will be pressurizing. Otherwise, the current Ghanaian squad has a good mix of youth and experience, although there's not enough experience within the big games within this squad, and a lot of the times they can be very unpredictable when playing. Big news, Asamoah Gyan wanted to join the Ghanaian squad in Qatar for like the first time in 3-4 years. Do you think he should or should not? And more information about the Ghanaian squad can be found in my video about how Africa will do this World Cup. Uruguay. Under their new manager Diego Alonso, he's tend to preferred a 4-4-2, and this does make a lot of sense because they have a solid defence, a solid midfield, and they have very good striking options in Luis Suarez and Cavani, who work very well together, so you might as well play them at the same time. And even if one of them gets injured, or now that they're aging they're going to retire, you've got a fantastic replacement in Nunez, who adds a different dynamic, very fast and very skillful up front. This 4-4-2 style of play has clearly worked to Uruguay's benefit and the manager as well, as Uruguay have only conceded one goal since he's been in charge, so it's very much keeping the defence compact and tight, but also they are scoring goals. Even though the majority of Uruguay's goals are coming from their very experienced strikers, it's important to highlight their midfielders, because in Valverde, Bentancur and Vecino, they are very solid box-to-box midfielders, but they're very comfortable in taking long-range strikes, so at least that alleviates the pressure from the strikers and it adds a different dynamics to their attacking build-up play. South Korea. I feel like they're coming under the radar this tournament, which I'm sure they will use to their advantage, given that the past few tournaments they haven't actually done as well. But I do think this squad is peaking all together at the same time, just in time for the World Cup. And of course, in Son, you've got an absolute game changer. And as long as he stays fit, I'm sure he will pull South Korea through sticky situations. South Korea's best run did come in 2002 when they famously hosted it when it was in Asia, so 20 years down the line in Asia again. And given that the K-League would have finished before the World Cup starts, so who knows, maybe this is South Korea's time to shine and more information can be found about the South Korean national football team in my video about how Asia will do this World Cup. Considering all the factors mentioned, my predicted standings for Group H is Uruguay topping it in first, South Korea in second reaching the knockout stage, Ghana in third, and Portugal at bottom in fourth. Yes, these are pretty bold claims, but Uruguay, I feel like, are the most cohesive team, the most understanding, and a very good style of play, fitting the players as well. South Korea, I think they will just surprise, and in someone like Son, they just have that game changer, really. And Ghana over Portugal, I think Portugal will flop. Even though I said it would go one way or the other for Portugal, I think Portugal will flop. There's just, the cohesion just isn't there. The understanding isn't there. Their style of play mixes and they fluctuate. And I think Ghana could capitalise on that. And I don't think Ghana has enough time to implement all these new players they've recruited. So there you have my odd predictions on what I think will be an odd looking Group H. Do you think Ghana has enough time to implement all their new players? Do you think Portugal will go all the way, or do you think they'll crash out in the group stage? Who do you think will surprise in this group? As always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Pedro Predictions.